Could God create a stone he himself couldn't lift? Well, first I'll try to give a naive answer. Let's start by defining God, and I defined God as an omnipotent being. That's a pretty standard definition, which makes this problem even more general. For any omnipotent being, could they make that stone? First, we'll try to answer with yes, make logical deductions and see where we land off. So, God can create a stone he can't lift. Okay, then everything is fine, right? That leads to he can't lift the stone. By definition, the stone he created can't be lifted, so he can't lift the stone. But that means he can't do something, which is a contradiction with omnipotent. Omni, everything, potent, being able to do. So, omnipotent, he's able to do anything, but he can't lift something, he can't do something. So, that's a contradiction, which means, logically speaking, we did proof by contradiction, and God can't create that stone, which brings us to no. God can't create the stone. But that's a contradiction with being omnipotent, with being able to do anything, because he couldn't create the stone. This is called the omnipotence paradox. So what's the answer? Well, while doing the research for this video, reading Wikipedia, I came across actually more answers than I imagined. There are a lot of people trying to define things stricter, which helps a lot of times with paradoxes. So a lot of people say, okay, let's tackle omnipotence. What does that actually mean? And some people try to separate omnipotence into two kinds. A being that is essentially omnipotent and a being that is accidentally omnipotent. What does that mean? Well, by definition, an essentially omnipotent being can do anything unless that thing makes him lose his omnipotence, his power to do anything. Which kinda solves the paradox, because God can't create the stone because his omnipotence, by definition, is absolute omnipotence, which means he can do anything except for what makes him unable to do anything, which means he can't create the stone. An omnipotent being could also be accidentally omnipotent, which means he can do anything and he can lose his omnipotence. So that being can create the stone, and when he creates the stone, he loses his power to do anything at all, which means he can't lift the stone. But let's stick to the classical definition of omnipotence, being able to do anything. Does the paradox still happen? Well, C.S. Lewis actually had an answer. Kinda weird one. He said, well, for God to create a stone he couldn't lift, that stone's degree of omnipotence, of power, needs to be greater than the power of God. And God can't really create something more powerful than himself. At least that's how I understand. I'll put the link in the description with the whole paragraph. There are others, though, who think of things differently. Some Christian theologians say that God can do anything as long as that thing is according to his nature, which is a logical one. So he can do anything as long as it is logical, as long as it's not a paradox. For example, he can't draw a square circle. Other people view things differently. Matthew Whittle said that we assume the stone has already been created. Basically, for him not to be able to lift the stone must exist. So he is omnipotent until he creates the stone. So basically, he can do anything up until the point when he does that thing. Although all of these answers might seem fair, there's only one that I truly agree with, and that's the answer given by Ludwig Wittgenstein, which ties into Gödel's theorem of incompletitude, which says that we can't really know, because language is limited. In modern terms, we would say language is a lossy compression format. We can't really describe everything with language. This becomes a problem of semantics. And because language is limited and we can't properly describe omnipotence with language, this question is unanswerable with language. Kurt Gödel proved that any logical system is incomplete. So there are problems which can't be solved in that logical system. Here we use logics. Even we could say we use some form of mathematical logics, because this is a proof by contradiction. So, the answer that I believe is correct is we can't really know. You could also say omnipotent beings can't really exist, because an omnipotent being making the stone is a premise in both of those things, so an omnipotent being can't really exist. And we can prove that we can't really know. If you have any objections or things that you want me to talk about, stuff like that, please comment below. Thank you for watching, subscribe.